I ask you, what do you think about living alone? And you answer, I don't have an opinion. I think nothing. And I say, but you must have an opinion. I mean, there are lots of people who live alone, and you should think about it and know if it's good, if it's bad, if you like it, if you don't like it. And you answer, yes, but I have to think about it, and I have to elaborate a lot of sentences. I don't feel like it at this moment. Very good and very lazy. But that's not, luckily, that's not the normal way, right? We need to elaborate sentences. We need to exchange our points of view with some other people. We need to socialize, right? For this reason, now we are going to put into practice what we learned in the previous session about how to prepare a conversation. This time we are going to concentrate on a specific topic, and we are going to see how we can develop that topic, right? Even if we have to talk to ourselves. Before going to our PowerPoint presentation, let me remind you about your likes, about your comments that are very, very welcome, that I need them to motivate myself and also to become aware of the big family that all of us are making in this channel, right? Thank you very much, and let's now go to our PowerPoint presentation. All right, and here we are once again with our PowerPoint presentation, session 15, basic conversation, the logo of the channel, and a little image advancing what we are going to deal with, right? Can you live without social? Yes, but I would miss my friends. So this is a very, very basic little conversation between two people, and this is what we are going to work with next. Well, here we are, and the first thing we're going to do is to check, to correct the practice that I gave you last week when we were learning to prepare a conversation, right? In this case, practice, as you know, is based upon your personal needs, your personal experience, in your personal background with people, with family, etc. So you think about the typical things you would do in your normal life, the typical things that you would need to say in your normal life, and then in this case you try to keep a conversation with somebody else about these type of things, right? For example, I am proposing you this topic. You're participating in a conversation about big cities. Use the given prompts to elaborate questions and answers, right? I gave you the prompts last week, and this week I am giving you the proposed sentences, right? Do you like living in big cities? In green are the advantages, and in red are the disadvantages, right? Maybe your opinion is positive, in this case it will be in green. Maybe your opinion is negative, in this case it would be in red. Yes, I think big cities offer lots of opportunities to feel well, have fun, and satisfy all your needs. Partner, but there are lots of people and cars, don't they disturb you? So their view is negative, right? Negative to your point of view. So you have a general point of view here, as you can see, and then there is a reaction from your partner, and there is other reaction from you to what your partner says, right? Next thing, this is about the general question, do you like living in big cities? In this case, you are not going to agree. Here, you agreed, right? So you mentioned, you supported advantages. In this case, you are going to support disadvantages, right? No, I don't like big cities because there are lots of people and cars which make everything very noisy and polluted. And as a consequence of that, your partner's reaction is going to be positive. That's why it's in green, right? And then there is going to be a negative reaction on your part to your partner's view about this general question and about this general position that you gave from a negative point of view, right? All right. And this is the reminder about oral practice in agendaweb.org and this website that I gave you to check some discussions, right? Very good. And now we're going to continue with session 15, basic conversation. In this case, I am going to propose other topic, leaving your parents' home. As you can see, this image is very graphic, right? All right. You have to draft your points, ideas, examples, draft thinking, right? Making a kind of scheme with keys, ideas, prompts. In this case, I'm going to give you the prompts, right? So that the only thing you have to do is to build the sentences. And I'm also going to give you the structure of the conversation, right? Well, first of all, imagine the partner, your partner, the person you are talking to, says something like this. When studies finish, everybody need leave home. All right, these are keys, right? These are prompts. But, of course, you need to put them into sentences. Because I remind you of not writing whole sentences when preparing a scheme, preparing a draft to make a conversation, right? Why not? Because if you make sentences, you finish by living, right? You end up reading. And I don't want you to read. I want you to speak. So when we speak, our ideas are in our minds, right? So we have basic ideas and we have to transform those ideas into sentences, right? So imagine this here, the prompts are your ideas, and now you have to transform them into sentences to communicate and to initiate a conversation with other person. In this case, is your partner the one talking to you, right? And you react. Yes, here you can see an image saying yes, so your reaction is going to be positive. That's why it's in green. You can see here the prompts to make sentences in order to react to this initial view from your partner. But maybe you are against. In this case, if you are against, this is a possible negative view from you. That's why it's in red with the prompts to transform them into sentences, right? Now, imagine that your partner agrees with A here, with your position, right? Your position for A is this one. Your partner agrees with you in A. Well, these are the prompts and you have to turn them into sentences, right? But your partner can also disagree. In this case, he or she disagrees with A also, right? Partner against A, and these are the prompts. Your partner can be in favor of, may support B, right? So in this case, he or she is supporting B. That's why it's in green, right? But your partner may be against B. And here you can see the sentences showing disagreement, right? Well, in this case, you can see the prompts, you can see the keys to turn them into a sentence, right? All right, let's continue. In this case, we are going to continue with some more views about leaving your parents' home, right? Draft with your points, idea, sample, draft thinking. This is the same instructions as I gave you in the previous slides, right? Partner, when young people finish their studies, they need to leave their homes to make it on your own. This involves making your own decisions and avoiding dependence. And you agree. All right, you for, meaning you support this view. Yes, you're right, everybody's worthy of living his or her own life. This way they can make their own choices, etc. Right? This is a positive view supporting your previous partner's thought or view. But maybe you are against, maybe you your view is negative, right? In this case, this is your negative view. Here I have developed it. I'm not giving you keys, I'm not giving you prompts. I have developed it to show you a sample of how, an example of how the development of the keys would be, right? So that you can do it in some other futures conversations that I will propose, some other sessions of conversation that I will propose. Now, in this case, partner is in favor of, supports A, right? Your points of view, your positive points of view here in A. But your partner may also disagree for A, right? In this case, you have it. Your partner can also agree with your negative view in B, right? But your partner may disagree with your negative view in B. And here you have the negative, your partner's negative view against this negative view of yours. Obviously, if your partner's view here in red is negative, it's because he disagrees with it and he thinks in a positive way, right? Good. Well, next thing we're going to do is to do some practice. I'm going to give you some proposal. In this case, I'm going to propose you prepare a discussion about advantages and disadvantages of social media. Make a draft for the discussion, and then use your prompts and ideas to mentally form sentences, but don't write them down, right? I mean, don't write sentences down. You can write down your keys, your prompts, your views, but not whole sentences, right? Here you can see an illustration, an image about the scheme of elaborating ideas, elaborating sentences, elaborating views, right? Yeah. Opening, you open the view, or you open the conversation, discover and share the views or your views, develop solutions or develop arguments, agree or disagree, and then you close the conversation, right? Build a sample dialogue like the ones we have previously practiced with, not only in this session, but also in session 14, previous session. Record yourself performing the dialogue and then listen to yourself to check pronunciation, possible mistakes, etc. This is very important. Record yourself, because if you record yourself keeping the conversation, maybe with yourself, or if you have somebody to talk to, that's better, right? If you record the conversation later on, you can listen to yourself, you can check possible mistakes, you can check some doubts about something you are not sure about, if it's correct, if it's not correct, if I'm using the right vocabulary, if this is the right structure, if I am pronouncing correctly, right? And with all this, you can introduce your comments, your doubts on the channel, and I will try to give you an answer, right? Well, and this is all for this week. I forgot to tell you that we are here in this beautiful surrounding, this beautiful environment of the Galleria of Vittorio Emanuele II in Milan, right? Vittorio Emanuele II's galleries, one of the most popular ones in the world, because all these shops, all the businesses here within the galleries are luxury ones, right? Where you can find Gucci and you can find Versace and all these type of luxury businesses all around the world, right? And that's all, folks. Online practice, agendaweb.org and asldiscussions.com if you want to go there, right, to have a look. The reminder of the dictionary that I always recommend you to work with. And now, what is coming now? If you like this channel, if you enjoy this channel, if you have learned, and if you feel well when you are in contact with us, sign up, right? Become a part of this big and great family. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next week. Bye bye. See you.